Good evening, baseball fans. How you doing? How you doing? Playoff baseball galore today. We got a lot of teams advancing to the next round. No drama here. We got the Rangers moving on. We got the Diamondbacks moving on. We got the Phillies moving on. The Twins are finally moving on to the next round. How we doing, everyone? Good evening, good evening, good evening. Just around 100 people to start things off. Thank you for stopping by tonight. Like I said, no drama here really in the wild card rounds. Hey, none of us got that deciding that third game. And in the end, I think that just shows who the better teams were in the end. The Phillies were clearly a step above the Marlins. The Rangers clearly, in my opinion, were just ready to play. They were just, in my opinion, the more well-built team than the Rays. Looking at the Diamondbacks, I mean, hey, I think a lot of people were picking the Brewers. You did have some Diamondbacks picks there. But with that pitching that the Brewers have had, especially how well they performed in the second half, I mean, come on now. I mean, no surprise to pick the Brewers in this one. And the Diamondbacks really just stepped it up, came up with the timely hits. They were down in both games. And, hey, they earned it. They absolutely earned it. So that's going to be a fun one moving on. And, man, how about the Twins? That, to me, I think out of all the series, yeah, the Phillies absolutely had a lot of juice from the fans, but I got to be honest, I was leaning a little towards watching the Twins in this first round of the postseason so far. Sure, the Phillies, they had the prime time spot there, so they were kind of easy to watch, but I wanted to watch the Twins, especially with how much the fans showed up yesterday. Man, I feel so happy for Twins fans out there. Sure, it is, it is a new addition to the playoffs, the wild card round. I would like to see the Twins move on from the division round. They haven't been able to move on from that division round since 2002. But I'm not discrediting, obviously what they've done. It's great to see. It's great to see. I'm going to be honest with you. I think it's the new jerseys. I'm just saying. I mentioned that last night. Anytime teams get the new jerseys, they always seem to have a pep in their step. I'm just saying. But everyone, 150 people to start things off. Thank you for stopping by. I'm going to dive into each game. I got my thoughts. I got my notes ready. And but before I do start, everyone, if you can, the like goal for tonight is 100. Hit that like button for me. The live goal, if we can get to 100 likes, that would be absolutely amazing. Hit the bell notification. I'm going live all the time, and I'm gonna need you. I'm going to need you to hit that bell for me. That way I go live every single time. Share the show if you can. Share it on Twitter. Share it on Instagram. Share it on Facebook. Share it with your grandma down the street. And everyone, tonight's sponsor, I will get to them in a little bit, but just letting you know, our sponsor for tonight's show is Underdog Fantasy. The link is in the description down below. The promo code is Hyde on the sign up. Make sure you use that code and you get a double on your first deposit up to $100. And hey, if you're looking to go to any of these postseason games, make sure you check out SeatGeek. Use my code Hyde. You get $20 off. And hey, there's football as well. You can get any kind of tickets on SeatGeek. So go use that code. Go check it out. All right, everyone. Let's get to it. Enough of me rambling here. I think we got to dive right into the Phillies and the Marlins. That's the instant reaction here. In the end, I mean, this Phillies team, listen, I picked the Marlins. I went for the chaos pick. I'm thinking, where in this bracket could there be chaos? Where could there be an upset? And I looked at the Marlins, and I'm thinking, all right, they got some guys here that can pitch. They got they got this sort of offense where they can come up with those timely hits. They're kind of like a nuisance sort of an offense. Someone like a Luis Ariz with all the contact that he makes. Josh Bell showed that, hey, he actually did pretty well in this series. You got some other guys that could come through, like a Brian De La Cruz. Jesus Sanchez has a very high ceiling. They got someone like a Jorge Soler. So I'm thinking, out of all these teams, and it ended up being the Diamondbacks that ended up being the upset team, overcoming the Brewers, the number 3 seed. So there's always an upset in the bracket. There's always one. And I was wondering, who could it be? Who could it be? And I like the Marlins. I'm thinking 20 years ago, they got their magic going, and they made it to the World Series that year. Could they do it again and just completely shock the world and just knock off the defending National League champion Phillies? No. In the end, no. They couldn't get it done. I was wrong. But I will say this. Moving on are the Phillies going up against the Braves. I'm going to say this right off the bat. I think this could be an all-time great series. I really do. When it comes to division round matchups that we have seen all throughout the history of Major League Baseball, I think this one has the potential to be amazing. I really do. I mean, I'm going to break that down here. I got some super chats coming in. Thank you so much for those. I'll get to those in just 1 second. I just want to make sure my box scores are working. Perfect. So let's get to this here. Let's get to the Phillies and the Marlins. So the final tonight, 7-1. Hey, in the end, Phillies offense just busted out. Bryson Stott with the big blow, the grand slam. That was my breakout player for the Phillies this year. And you could honestly say Bryson Stott's been incredibly underrated as well. I mean, this guy's just completely flown under the radar this year. He had himself a really good season for the Phillies. And, but with the Phillies, all the attention is going to be on Harper, Schwarber, Turner, Castellanos. So not many people were looking at how good Stott was doing. Phillies fans, I'm positive Phillies fans knew how good he was doing. But everyone on the outside, I don't think realized it. And Stott, I'm not surprised that he really came through big here. And that was the big blow. JT Realmuto got it going early on with the home run. Schwarber with the double to get things going. Turner contributed as well. So, in the end, just another complete game overall for the Phillies. Good pitching, good offense. And speaking of the pitching, I mean, come on now. Aaron Nola, I said this coming in. Nola's been up and down, but the last couple of starts going into the playoffs, he looked sharp. He looked good against the Braves. He looked good against the Pirates in his last start. And it looks like maybe Aaron Nola has a run in him. And, everyone was kind of on to Nola this year. Yeah, really up and down year for him. But it looks like he hit an up at the right time, and he looked sensational tonight. He just had these Marlins hitters completely off balance. They couldn't really get anything going tonight. In the end, Nola was absolutely fantastic. So let me actually go pull up that box score here. As always, I like to go on the StatCast box scores, and we'll take a look-see. So taking a look at Nola's final line here, I mean, just a great night. I mean, he didn't really rack up a whole lot of strikeouts in the end, but 7 innings, only give up the 3 hits. He did give up a few hard-hit balls there. The Marlins, they were coming after him, but in the end, Nola, he was just too much, and they could not get anything going. He only needed 88 pitches tonight, and I think that's a really good sign for Aaron Nola and the Phillies moving forward, because he will most likely get the Game 3 start, I would imagine. Wheeler, I would think he's going to be the Game 2 guy because he would be on normal rest at that point. Maybe they could go to him for Game 1, but unless they have announced it and I just completely missed it, I would think it's either going to be Ranger Suarez or Sanchez for Game 1, unless they have said that Wheeler will get the Game 1 nod. But I think he would be on one less day of rest if I calculated that correctly. So, but Nola, only 88 pitches. I mean, that's just great. So he's going to be really well rested moving into the next round. Also, I want to give a shout out here. Orion Keckering, he just made his major league debut this past week or whatever, or like 10 days ago. And this guy's pitching in the postseason. I love it. I love when these guys, they're coming up and they're contributing, right? Keckering is a guy, a good arm to bring up for the Phillies. He's had a pretty decent year down in the minor leagues. It was a cool moment. His dad was in the stands. I mean, come on. I mean, what a great moment that is, man. But, hey, in the end, Braxton Garrett, I will talk about him for a second. He did look pretty good early on, but the Phillies, in the end, they just figured him out, and they just really got to him. In the end, it was a fun season for the Marlins. They just got completely outclassed here by the Phillies. This Phillies team is so good. I don't really know what else to say. I mean, you just saw on full display how good this Phillies team was. And this is the type of team this is the team that we all thought they could be after seeing what they did in the postseason last year. A lot of people are thinking, all right, did they have their magic last year? Has that worn off? And it absolutely has not. They just completely took control of this series without any doubt. Now the question is, will it be enough against the Braves again? We got a rematch. I love it. I can't wait for this series. This is going to be blockbuster. Get your popcorn. Get your Dr. Pepper. This is going to be a fantastic series. I think it's going to go way different than what it did last year. With the Braves this time, remember Strider last year. He came in, he missed a couple of starts. He kind of came in, he looked rusty right off the bat. The Phillies has got to him. All right, I think it's going to be a different story this time around. They did have the simulated game today. People were actually coming to watch, which I think is pretty cool. And they actually made it competitive. So I think that's, the best thing the Braves could have done, bringing in people to make it as close to a game-like feel as possible. But in the end, it's not going to be the same, as going up against the Phillies. Obviously, what can you do? You're just, doing what you can. But I think Fried, didn't seem like there were any issues with the blisters today. So I think this is going to be fantastic. The Braves, when it comes to the pitching matchups, they do have the edge there because unless they do go Wheeler on short rest, I don't know what their plan is going to be. I would imagine they probably go either Suarez or Sanchez for game one. I could be wrong. Do they want to just go with Wheeler on a little less rest? I mean, to match up with Strider. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But if they do go Suarez or Sanchez for game one, the Phillies, then I think you have to imagine here the Braves definitely have the edge. But with how good Nola was, with game 2 and 3, the Phillies have the capability of bouncing back, even if they do fall down 1-0 in the series. So I think if the Braves, they take that first game, I don't think Phillies fans should worry about it. I think, in the end, the Phillies with that 1-2 punch, but, they're going to have Suarez or Sanchez step up for them. I would imagine they're probably not going to go Walker in this series with the Braves. I don't know. Walker didn't look amazing down the stretch. Not great numbers overall on the year. But they're going to need someone. They're going to need someone else, a Suarez or Sanchez, to really come through for them. But I'm very excited for this series. I think this is an absolute blockbuster. I'm excited for it. So let me catch up here on these Super Chats. I know a few came in. Let me get to those here. 220 people in the chat. Everyone, if you can, share the show. Like the stream if you can. It's going to help out with the algorithm. And, hey, subscribe if you are new. Make sure the bell notification is hit as well. Jacob Toon, how you doing? $1.99. One of our moderators, one of our members. Thank you. Let's go Rays. Sad face. Nah, but let's go D-backs for Longoria. How about Longoria making quite that? I forgot to mention that yesterday. Making quite the couple defensive plays yesterday. So, hey, we'll get to the Rays here. That's actually the next series I'm going to be talking about, but I got my thoughts on that. Thank you, Jacob, for the Super Chat. Conman752, one of our members, $10 Super Chat. Thank you, Conman. I'm a bit worried about the Rangers, but I just hope the O's keep it loose and have fun. Best hope is our hitters can get their starters out quick and get to that terrible bullpen. The Rangers, again, I am going to touch on them in just a second here. I think this is going to be a great series as well. The Orioles, obviously, they just look so solid throughout the year. They just seem like a team that's really together, and their starting pitching really woke up in the second half. I really love Bradish there for game one. And then Grayson Rodriguez. I don't think people realize how good Grayson Rodriguez was. Yeah, he is a rookie, but the dude had some of the nastiest stuff, according to Fangraphs, down the stretch. So I think Grayson Rodriguez is an absolute bulldog. I think he's the sky is the limit for him. He's only going to get better. I think he's going to be great. Will the rookie status of him, will that catch up to him in this series? He's going up against some tough hitters here. I mean, this is not going to be easy for Grayson Rodriguez. This is going to be quite the test. If he can step up and set these guys down in the Rangers lineup, that would be awesome. That would be amazing. And that guy would be a legend instantly. We'll just have to wait and see how that goes. But I definitely think that could be a great series. The Orioles are just a pretty well-balanced team, in my opinion. They got a pesky offense. They do extremely well with runners in scoring position. Solid pitching down the stretch. Bullpen, I'm a little iffy with the back end of the bullpen for the Orioles. Conman, I think you even said it yourself at one point, where the starting pitching actually really turns up for them. And their strength, which was their bullpen earlier on in the season before they lost Batista, could that end up coming back to bite them? It's going to be tough. These Rangers bats are not going to be easy. Conman, thank you for the super chat. Deep Fried Ninja, $2. Dbacks extended Mike Hazen through 2028. Thoughts? To be honest with you, Deep Fried Ninja, I think that was the right move. It's kind of weird. It would be weird if he just left. They finally got back to the playoffs here. They got some really good talent now up at the major league level. The farm system still looks really strong. I feel like it would have just been a weird time for Hazen to leave. I know he was connected with the Red Sox, obviously because they're looking for a new president of baseball operations, but I think Hazen, to me, I think that was the right move. So, Disc Tracker, $5. How you doing? Give my Rangers some credit. They were underdogs as well and made easy work out of the Rays. Rangers in 4. Yeah, they were because, and I think, I don't blame anyone considering the Rangers, the underdog in this series. I had the Rays winning that series. I thought the Rays, they were playing some good baseball down the stretch, and the Rangers, they were very up and down, but they've got it together here. I'll talk about that in just a second, but Disc Tracker, you're absolutely right. Colin Todd, $24.99. Come on, how are you going to go against my Phillies? How are you going to go against my Phillies? Hey, bad call on my end. Bad call. I should have gone with the Phillies. A part of me, I'll be honest with you, a part of me really wanted to go with the Phillies all the way to the World Series. At one point when I was looking at my bracket, I'm thinking, man, that Philly 1-2 punch of Nola, Wheeler, that offense, they're hungry. I just thought, could there just be this ridiculous upset in the works? No, I was completely wrong. I completely take accountability for that one. Jacob Toon, one more super chat coming in, $9.99. I'm sorry, Braves fans, but I don't believe in y'all's pitching at all. I think Strider is overrated, and I could be mistaken about this guy, but if Morton is hurt, it's all over. That's going to be a big deal. Morton's not going to be in this series for them, so that will, I think, be a slight issue, but I think the Braves can overcome that. It does worry me a little bit, because after Strider and Fried, you got Elder, who didn't have a great second half. I don't know. I'm worried about the Braves in a 7-game series. I'm less worried in a 5. I do love Strider. Do love Fried. I think it's going to be a battle in this series completely. One more super chat before I move on to the Rangers and the Rays. Surprisingly, in the games, the O's bullpen had Batista. Their ERA was 3.55. Without him, it was a 3.54. So they've been remarkably consistent. Hey, that just goes to show Brandon Hyde has managed this bullpen very well. So I think in the end, though, postseason baseball is different. When you're going up against these really good hitters, these elite hitters in the postseason, you need your best arms out there. Batista, losing him was a blow. Joseph Rodriguez, $2. Aroldis Chapman has set up Jose Leclerc as closer. I think they might have found something there. Leclerc has been their guy for a while now. Chapman, he just couldn't really get settled in at one point. But it looks like Chapman might be okay in a lesser role, and I like that for them. So, speaking of the Rangers and the Rays, let's get to that here. In the end, I don't know, man. I got a lot of thoughts on this one. So let's get to that box score here. In the end, I'll talk good about the Rangers here first. I got my thoughts on the Rays. I do have a little bit of bias in that point of view just because they are an AL East rival, so I have way more thoughts naturally about the Rays. But Evan Carter, this guy's a stud. This guy is going to be a complete star. Home run today. He's 3 for 4 so far in the postseason. Evan Carter, the year he was having in the minor leagues was so good. I'm not surprised with what he's doing. The guy's an unbelievable talent. I think an underrated prospect, honestly. When you really think of a lot of the prospects that have been coming up, Evan Carter's not really a name you heard of a lot, but people knew, if you knew your prospects, you knew he was good, but you just didn't hear his name a lot. All right. I felt like I even heard more about Nolan Schanuel instead of him because, Schanuel, he came up so quickly after the draft that you didn't really hear much about Evan Carter. But Adolis Garcia, he had the home run today. They had everything clicking for today. All the offense. Young had the triple to start things off. Obviously, like I said, Carter with the homer. Nate Lowe contributed there with the ground out. Semien had the double there. Seager had the double. Semien and Seager, these guys are awesome. I think the money that they ended up getting, who knows what that will look like in 3-4 years from now, but it looks awesome right now. It looks like money well spent. Those guys are absolutely fantastic. But in the end, I think the big key was Evaldi. Evaldi, he struggled towards the end of the season. He was not looking sharp. But hey, shame on me for going against Nathan Evaldi, old Red Sox friend, Red Sox legend. What he did in 2018, nasty Nate. I should be ashamed of myself going against Nathan Evaldi, but I just looked at what he was doing in the last couple of starts. He didn't look sharp. In the end, Nathan Evaldi pitched into the 7th inning, 1 earned, 8 strikeouts. Fun fact, this was the 6th team, the Rangers, they're the 6th team in postseason history to hold their opponent to 1 run or less over at least 2 games. Pretty neat. I didn't really realize that ever. So, interesting. But lots of good pitching from Montgomery and Evaldi in the first 2 games. As for the Rays, I'm just going to flat out say it. They are built for the regular season. They are not built for postseason baseball. In the end, postseason baseball is all about the stars. It's all about the studs. Those are the guys that are going to make or break a championship for you. The Rays, sure, you got a Rosarena. You got Yandy Diaz. You had, you've had some good pitching, right? You did have Glasnow in game 1. Glasnow to me is always one of those guys where he almost kind of reminds me of I might get blasted for this one. I feel like him and Strider are pretty similar where they have just really good stuff, but then they can just kind of cough one up every once in a while. I'm not sure if that's a fair comparison or not, but Glasnow, we all know how good he can be when he's on, but when he's not, it kind of just falls apart for him, right? And he just wasn't able to come through. And they didn't, I think losing McClanahan did not help at all, but in the end, they did what they could. I thought Zach Eflin today was going to have a pretty decent game. I thought the Rays absolutely could have tied this series back up, and in the end, they just fell completely flat. So, in the end, the Rays don't have stars. They don't have, they have stars, but they don't have those superstars. And in the end, that's where that payroll is going to come back and bite them all the time. They're always such an attractive team to pick just because, they are out of the box. They do lean on the analytics so heavily. They do have their game plans. They are different. And they're always so attractive to pick. But I think in the future, you can't pick them because it's so hard to pick them because they just don't have the stars that will carry them through in the end. And clearly what happened today, the Rangers stars came through. The big money guys came through for them, and they won them this series in the end. Sure, they lost Wander Franco. That was a hit. But in the end, I just think the Rays, they're a regular season team. They can go ahead and win 105 games in the regular season. I think from now on, I'm not going to care because if they don't have those stud guys like the Rangers with Seager and Semien and even Evaldi, who they paid some money, I just think the Rays, they're unpickable. You can't pick them. They will win in the regular season a lot, but against the top teams, against the elite, the analytics, they go out the window. They're going to be there, but at the end of the day, pure talent is going to win out. And the Rays need to figure this out. I don't know, man. They've barely been getting any fans. I don't know, man. They're opening the new stadium at some point. I don't think it's going to help. I think people at first will be like, oh, cool, brand new stadium. This is fun. This is nice. Wow, look at all these nice new places around the stadium. Wow, this is beautiful. It's going to wear off. It's going to wear off. Sorry, you had 19,000 fans at the game yesterday. I'm going to give credit here to Baseball Doesn't Exist. He actually put out a great tweet earlier. I'm not sure if anyone saw it. The Royals had the Kansas City Royals, one of the worst teams in Major League Baseball, had more fans at the last game of the season than the Rays did in their first postseason game. And don't give me the nonsense about it's a day game, because the Twins also had a day game yesterday, and they had almost 40,000 people. Sorry, don't use that argument with me. It's null and void, done, kaput, done. The Rays, I'm sorry. I don't know what else to say about them. I don't know. But as for the Rangers and the Orioles, this is going to be, I think, a really solid series. If Montgomery and Eovaldi can keep being that 1-2 punch, the Rangers absolutely can win this series. They looked so good. And the reason is because the Rangers, they don't have to worry about the offense. They don't have to worry about that. And I think also people don't remember here, Corey Seager has all the postseason experience. Look how many times he has competed in the postseason. This is nothing for him, right? This guy's going to flat out ball out. I honestly think Corey Seager could have been the MVP this year if he didn't get hurt so much, even with the year that Ohtani had. I really think there's an argument for that. But the Rangers, that offense is insane. And then you add like an Evan Carter to it, and then you got Young in there, and then you got Nate Lowe, who's incredibly underrated. And then obviously Adolis Garcia with the power. This Rangers lineup is nuts. And if they can just get at least some decent pitching from Montgomery and Eovaldi, I think they're going to be really tough to beat. Now, in a long series, that could be a different story. We'll have to wait and see on that front. But they have a shot here against the Orioles. This is a really good Rangers team. We'll have to wait and see how this goes. I think it's going to be a close series. The Orioles, I think this is going to be a close series because the Orioles, they're just tough. They're just a tough team to beat. They're hard to put down, right? I'm very excited about this series. So we'll have to wait and see how it goes. Moving on here. Let's get to, and one more thing about the Rays. Hey, let's see what they do this offseason. Will they maybe trade off some guys that are maybe getting closer to arbitration? Will they, maybe make some moves? I don't know. What's going to happen with Franco? I think it's going to be a really interesting off-season for the Rays. So moving on here, let's go to the Diamondbacks and the Brewers. This just ended not too long ago. I think we actually had a couple of super chats. Let me get caught up on those. Okay, yeah. Ben Lowry with a $5 super chat. Going to the LA game on Saturday. Good for you, Ben. Good for you. What does your gut tell you on Bobby Miller? And what are your opinions on what to expect with the Diamondbacks offense? They battled. Yeah, the Diamondbacks, they have good bats. They were hot and cold this year, but they have the potential. They have them. Ketel Marte is a guy that I think is so overlooked, and he really came through for them tonight. Big base knock there to drive in a couple of runs. Corbin Carroll at the end of the day. Still have a bat and a Lourdes Gurriel Jr. Christian Walker is always that power bat. Christian Walker, I feel like, is one of those players. If the Diamondbacks can make it to that NLCS, let's say the Diamondbacks somehow make it to the World Series. Christian Walker is one of those guys that I think could win an MVP of a series. Like, he's just one of those game-changing kind of bats. So if they have everyone clicking, LA, with the thin pitching that they have, it's going to be interesting. But Bobby Miller, I think, has the potential to be a game changer in these playoffs. I think Bobby Miller is so good. He's got great stuff, good velocity, nasty off-speed pitches. But you know what I love about Bobby Miller? This guy just doesn't care. He cares, but he doesn't care at the same time about all the noise. He just kind of comes off as one of these guys to me. The dude is just a bulldog, and he's just going to go out there and just compete. The dude just looks angry every time he pitches. Like, he looks awesome when he's out there. I think he could be a real game changer, not just in this series, but in the postseason as well. Kershaw's interesting. With Kershaw, obviously, we know with the Hall of Fame career with Kershaw, I always worry about the stuff with him because Kershaw, he's not going to blow you away anymore unless he can figure it out, really work around, these hitters. Kershaw to me is not like, we've seen his struggles in the past because Kershaw to me is not really one of those swing and miss guys anymore. Like, he can pitch great games. But in the postseason, I do worry about him a little bit. His stuff, according to Fangraphs, didn't look amazing down the stretch. It wasn't his best stuff that he's had. He looked really good in the first half. But his stuff has dwindled in the second half a little bit. So that worries me. I think the Dodgers are absolutely capable of winning this series. I mean, especially with the offense. They're going to get Mookie and Freeman alone. They're going to give a tough time to Gallen. I think having Kelly's another guy, having him go, and I'm guessing he's going to be the game one guy. Kelly, to me, he's not a guy that's going to put you away with stuff. He's going to get the ground balls. That, to me, I don't like that in the postseason. I just don't. With Mookie and Freeman, with how good those guys are, and Muncy and J.D. Martinez, I worry about Kelly in this series, honestly. Gallen, he'll pitch again eventually. Gallen, I'll give him a lot of credit here today. Let's actually get to this game. Gallen settled down today. And he got off to a pretty bad start, but I think the big key for the Diamondbacks today was him settling down and him getting into a bit of a rhythm there. Looked like it was going to be a quick night for him. Ended up going 6. So, Ben Lowry, thank you for the super chat. I do think the Dodgers win that series personally, but you all know me with my predictions. I'm just always wrong. Joseph Rodriguez, do you think Scherzer will be back? Honestly, even if Scherzer does come back, do you even really want to lean on him? I don't think that's a great idea, to be completely honest with you. I don't know. I mean, he had the bullpen today, or he had the, I guess it was today, he had a pain-free bullpen. I probably wouldn't go with him in this round. If you get to the championship round, I would, I don't know. I would imagine, I wouldn't trust him. I'd probably want him to throw a little bit more. He's yeah, it's Max Scherzer at the end of the day, but the guy is going to have a little rust. Do you really want to trust him at this point? I don't know. Scherzer, I see a comment here. Rafael Diaz, keep him in the pen. Could he be maybe a guy that maybe comes out of the pen? Maybe in that, after maybe Dane Dunning or something. So I would think maybe in this round, if he feels okay and he's good to go, maybe just have him in the bullpen first off. And then if you get to the championship round, maybe you could have him start there. So, anyway, moving on here to the Diamondbacks and the Brewers. In the end, the Brewers blew this, I think. The Diamondbacks absolutely earned it, but the Brewers, I think, also blew it. This Brewers team, the pitching coming in, Burns had a complete dud yesterday. Peralta looked great in the second half. He had a dud. He had the lead. I think this Brewers team, I think it's almost time for the Brewers to go into a bit of a rebuild here. Maybe not a full-blown one, but I think it's kind of getting to that point where you're going to have to make a decision on Burns. They're going to have to make some moves. What's going to happen here with Craig Counsell? Could he move on to the Mets? David Stearns going over there. They have that connection. I feel like Carroll would be a perfect manager for the Mets, personality-wise. I wonder about the Brewers moving forward. I just feel like this early exit, it doesn't make you feel good moving forward. There were some hopes here. I feel like losing Woodruff almost kind of broke their spirit a little bit almost. It was when that news came out, it was almost like you just felt like you lost already, right? Because Woodruff, that was going to be huge for them. In the end, give the Diamondbacks a lot of credit here. Alek Thomas really coming through today. Alek Thomas did not have a great season at the plate. Great defensively, but not great at the plate. And really came through with the homer today that really brought the life in for the Diamondbacks. And like I mentioned, Marte came through with a couple RBIs on the base hit there. Gurriel Jr. had the RBI base hit to put it ahead even further. But again, the key for me was Gallen really getting into the rhythm. I think if you couldn't get him going, this was going to be a back and forth one today. And in the end, the Diamondbacks, they were just a more complete team. The Brewers, we've all seen the offense this year. It was such a bad offense a lot. They had their moments. They were good with runners in scoring position. But in the end, this Brewers offense, it looked like what it did a lot this year. Just underwhelming. They didn't have enough extension in this lineup. You got a couple of good bats in there, but nothing game-changing. You didn't have those guys like Corbin Carroll for the Diamondbacks or a Ketel Marte. You didn't have those guys. So the Brewers, kind of like the Rays, where are they ever really going to be able to win one? I don't know if they have enough star power to really ever win one. I don't know. I think it's going to be really interesting moving forward. But, one more touch on the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers. I think this could be a fun series. I will lean Dodgers in this one, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Diamondbacks maybe make some noise. They just showed some fight here today against some good, and yesterday against some good pitching. So let me catch up on these Super Chats. Let me get to it here. Here we go. So we got a couple more here. Thank you for the Super Chats tonight, everyone. It is greatly appreciated. Jacob Toon, $4.99. Rays should move to Orlando. I'm born and raised in Tampa. Tampa doesn't deserve the team either. I get the traffic sucks, but come on, man, do better. No, I really do think. I think it was a horrible decision having the stadium in St. Petersburg again. I honestly, maybe I'm wrong. I feel like it almost feels like that was like it was probably the best thing they could have done. Tampa, they couldn't get the investors, to really get a stadium there. Moving somewhere else, it never looks good when you move somewhere to a new location. Look what's going on with the A's in Vegas. Everyone's up in arms about it. It never looks great. And I guarantee if the Rays ended up saying they were going to, well, look what happened with Montreal. They said they were going to play in Montreal, and everyone was up in arms about it. And it's like, you can't be up in arms about it because you don't go to the games. It's like, oh, you're gonna whine because your team's leaving, but you don't go to the games. So I don't know what else to say about that. I just think St. Petersburg is a brutal location. It's not good. It's not Tampa. It's 30, 45 minutes away. Traffic could even make it longer. I don't know, man. But it's a postseason game. Go support your team, especially if they had a good year. I don't know, man. I'd love it if they moved to Orlando. I'm in the Central Florida area. I would go to all the games. I'm not kidding. I would go to so many Rays games if they moved to Orlando. Not even kidding. I would go to a lot of them. Mets fan, $1.99. Will Mets hire Counsell now tomorrow? I think Counsell's definitely going to be on that list. I think the Brewers are going to go through a transition here, personally. Ben Lowry, $5. Baltimore will win game 1 by a 7th, 8th inning double from Santander, or Santandy, like you said, or Frazier, mark my words. Chappie will choke on a slider, and Batista closes it out. Wait, so I don't think Batista's out. Batista got Tommy John. You mean Cano? Yeah, Batista's out. So I think you meant Cano there. But hey, we'll see. Baltimore, I mean, they're a team that could absolutely late in game, and they could win it. So, Jimmy Productions, $4.99, thank you. I think the Phillies might be a sleeper team to win the National League and the World Series. I'm going to say this right now. Now that I was worried about this Marlins team. I know it might look a little silly right now that I went with the Marlins. I went with the chaos pick. That was my chaos pick. I think you have to have at least one chaos pick in a bracket. I picked wrong. The Diamondbacks ended up being that one. But this Phillies team, I think, is completely dangerous. I think they're very well equipped to win a World Series. They're a better team than last year. They still have a great 1-2 punch. But the difference with the Phillies, too, is this bullpen is really good. I don't think people realize how good this bullpen is for the Phillies. It's way better than what it was last year. Kimbrel gives me a heart attack all the time. But I'm just saying, though, it's still Kimbrel at the end of the day. You know he's going to be okay. So I think this Phillies team absolutely has a chance. So, hey, if we got Phillies and the Orioles, or Phillies and the Rangers, give me Phillies Rangers. That would be awesome. That pitching and that offense against the Rangers offense, and then the little bit of pitching that they got, I would love that. I would love that. Jimmy Productions, another one, $4.99. When the Nationals were winning a lot of games, we didn't have a lot of fans at the ballpark, but when we were in the playoffs, we had a lot of fans. Yeah, at the end of the day, when you make the playoffs, go. It's the playoffs. When the Red Sox played the Rays in the first round a couple of years ago, I'm not even near Tampa. I'm an hour and a half, 2 hours away from Tampa. I was there. I'm going to go see my team if they're at least a drive away, Absolutely. Jimmy Productions, you were going crazy. $4.99. Was the Braves team last season better, or is the Braves this season better? Definitely this season. This Braves team, they're also a little healthier going into this postseason. Strider, he's going to be at his top form. Fried looks okay after the blisters. I think that's a little concerning. because the blisters are always something, man. Those always come back to bite you. So they definitely got to monitor that. He pitched today. He had it covered up, but I think that could end up being a problem. But let's get to the one that everyone was talking about today. Let's get to the Blue Jays and the Twins. This is fantastic for the Twins. Fantastic for the Twins fans. Of course, I want to see them win a division round. That's what I want. We got the wild card round. This is fun and everything. I think it's great they did it. It is still postseason baseball at the end of the day. They got past the round, right? They got past a round. Now I want to see them get past the divisional round. I'll get to the Astros here in a second. But first playoff series win since 2002 against Oakland. 21 years since they won a playoff series, right? They won a playoff game yesterday for the first time and felt like 100 years. And now they finally won a series. So great for them. The key today, I think, Sonny Gray. Sonny Gray, this is a Bulldog guy. I said yesterday I was very curious to see how Sonny Gray would do here. I think having the big crowd behind him really got him going. He was just energized going out there today. He was grunting. He was just throwing just great stuff. He just looked good, man. I love watching Sonny Gray. He's a fun pitcher to watch, in my opinion. The bullpen looked great. Duran, he actually looked like he was having some issues with possibly a blister at the end. That was a little concerning, but obviously he was okay. But that is something they're going to have to monitor. That you always got to keep an eye on those blisters. But the big hit today was Correa. He came through, ended up being the deciding run there. They had another run from a double play, scored a run. But they're going up against the Astros. I think it's a really fun series. Speaking of the Correa, going back to Houston here, that's going to be fun. That's going to be interesting. I'm very excited to see that first at-bat with Correa in Houston in the playoffs. I think that's going to be fun. I think that's pretty cool. But for the keys for the Twins here, they have to pitch. They have to keep up this pitching. Lopez looked solid yesterday. I would like a few more strikeouts from Lopez if possible. That's going to be tough against this Astros lineup. Gray, he's going to have to battle again. They show what they could do against these good hitters with the Blue Jays today. But the Astros, that's a different level. The Astros, their offense got really hot in the second half. Second in WRC plus in the second half. They ranked third in September, so that offense is clicking. The one thing the Twins do have an advantage with, the Astros starting pitching in the month of September, very up and down. They only ranked 18th in Fangraph WAR. They looked better in the last week. They got a couple of good starts there. But the Twins, they're going to have to jump on these guys early. I think that's the big key. They got to get to them early, especially in Houston. They got to just silence that crowd. They need a Royce Lewis home run there. They need Correa. I think Correa is a big key because this guy played in Houston for years, right? He knows that environment. He loves it. Correa, he did remember the watch thing? Remember that? He loves that energy in Houston, man. I think Correa could be a big time piece in this series. So I think the Twins, man, they got all the confidence. All the confidence. And, I think having a guy like Correa, I think is so big for that team because they have a battle-tested guy. All right, say what you will about the trash cans and all that. At the end of the day, Correa has played in multiple World Series. He is huge for that Twins team. I don't think people realized. And don't forget, you also have Christian Vasquez on that team, too. I think this Twins team is much more positioned to be a good playoff team this time around because you got those guys that have that experience, and not just experience, but winning experience. So I think Vasquez and Correa, I think people sleep on those aspects of those guys. So the Twins are going to have to take advantage of this Astros starting pitching some way, somehow. They were up and down, the Astros pitching in September. Let's see if they can get to them. But awesome for the Twins here. But let's talk about the Blue Jays before we wrap things up. What are we doing here? What are we doing? I'm sorry. Schneider needs to get fired. Sorry. I don't like seeing people get fired. I don't like seeing, I don't like calling for people's jobs. But what the heck are you doing? 3 innings for Barrios? What? One thing if it's like an injury or something. But he said he wanted to use the whole roster. He said he wanted to use everyone. What are we talking about? What are you talking about? I'm sorry. Like, I don't know what to say to that. I don't know. You go lean on your starting pitching. Barrios had a good year. Lean on him. It didn't matter in the end because the Blue Jays bats couldn't get anything going. But lean on your guy. What are you doing? I think Schneider needs to go. I'm sorry. I just think that was a horrible move. In the end, the bats, they didn't do what they needed to do. You know, they got a couple hits from Springer. That was something they didn't have yesterday. But Bell batting second, man, I don't know. Bell was good against good against righties from the left side of the plate this year. I don't know, man. Just seeing Bell in the 2-hole, I don't like that. I want my guys at the I would have put Bichette probably in the 2-hole. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm wrong. In the end, they just couldn't come through with the timely hits, which is not a surprise because the Blue Jays had struggles this year with runners in scoring position. Only ranked 14th this year with runners in scoring position. They didn't do well in those spots. In the end, though, I just think that was a brutal move. You know, I don't know. I know you had Kikuchi there as well. They had some other guys they could lean on. I just thought that was such a weird move that they pulled him so quickly. It didn't matter in the end because you got to hit, right? So, you know, Barrios isn't going to be picking up a bat and swinging. I don't know. I just feel like this team, I don't know. I will say one thing about the Blue Jays I kind of thought about with the Blue Jays this year. If you've noticed, this year, speed is much more of a factor now, right? Much more stolen bases, much more emphasis on base running. The Blue Jays were not a good base running team this year. They were only 27th in base running this year. I just felt like they were just a station-to-station team. I just feel like they weren't really that. They had the bats, but they weren't really like a dynamic offense, right? Where they had guys that can do different things. They didn't really have these guys that were. They have the game-changing bats, but they didn't have the game-changing legs. They didn't have, base running. I think people forget about that. There's an art to base running, and there's a big factor, and you need that. In the end, and then obviously just coming through in the big spots, and they couldn't do it. So, I don't know. This Blue Jays team, I don't know what to think moving forward. It's going to be an interesting offseason for them because they've had these off seasons now. It's funny because they had a good offense this year despite the runners in scoring position. They were 8th overall in WRC+. They were 6th in starting pitching. They were 9th in the bullpen. They had a good team, but they just feel like there's something just sluggish about this team. Like it's almost like the Padres. They're like a Padres plus this year. The Padres, good talent. They just couldn't get it going. I don't know what it is. I don't know what else to say. I think this Blue Jays, this offseason is going to be really interesting for them. I don't know. But the Blue Jays, very disappointing. I think Schneider, that was just a very odd move today with Barrios, and I was not a fan. Everyone, I'm going to start wrapping this up here. I've gone over the games here. Hey, great couple of days of baseball. We got a couple of days off. Hey, we got some good matchups coming up in the next round, so I will go over that. I do want to just go over tonight's sponsor really quick. That is Underdog Fantasy. I made some picks yesterday. I came so close to winning some big money yesterday. And taking a look here at those results, if you didn't see it yesterday, I almost won $500 yesterday. I was 2 strikeouts away from $500. I couldn't believe it. Could not believe it. I needed one more strikeout from Fa. I needed one more from Luzardo. I was that close to $500, and I was that close to 125 because with Underdog, you can make an insurance pick where if you get 4 out of 5 or 3 out of 4, 2 out of 3, you can still win, right? But you wouldn't get as much if you got all of them correct, right? So if I went with a non-insurance pick, I think I would have won. If I had all 5 correct, I would have won over a couple grand. That would have been pretty cool. But in the end, I made some picks today. Got a couple of right. I leaned on Sonny Gray to give me some strikeouts. He got that. I had Corbin Carroll coming through with a base hit. I thought Gallen would give me a bit more of the strikeouts. That didn't work out. Eflin, I thought, would have a good game today. He got completely shellacked. Garrett did look good early on. It looked like he was on his way to getting at least 14 outs. He only got 9. So in the end, going through that Phillies order another time really got to him. So in the end, I couldn't come through with it today. We'll see how my picks go for next time. But yeah, everyone, go sign up. The link is in the description down below. Use the code Hyde. You get a double on your first deposit up to $100. And don't forget about SeatGeek, everyone. If you're going to a postseason game, make sure you use the code Hyde. Get $20 off. It also works for football, concerts, whatever it may be. Everyone, I'm going to start getting out of here. I'm going to make sure there's no more super chats. Ben Lowry, can the Twins pull off this upset? If so, who's the MVP? I absolutely think the Twins can do this because you have Lopez, you have Gray, right? You even got Joe Ryan. You got Kenta Maeda there as well. I'm more of a fan of Lopez and Gray, but they have the 1-2 pitching to get it done. The Astros have had some concerns with the starting pitching. I love the arms they have in the bullpen at the back end. Hasn't really been the best results as of late, but I just like the arms in general for the Astros. But I think the big thing for the Twins is they have these guys here. Like you have Correa, obviously, who was an Astro forever, and you just had Vasquez, who just won a World Series with the Astros last year. The Twins have these guys that can help them mentally get over that hump. I think the Twins could win this series. Any team can win, but I really do think the Twins have a good shot here. I really do. I would actually say it's right now 50-50 for me. I'm not going to lean on the Astros simply just because of the experience. I did pick the Astros to win this series in my bracket, but look how that's gone. I think the Twins have a good shot against the Astros. I really do. They're going to have to get a good start in Game 1, though. That's going to be key. That's going to be huge, especially Game 1 in Houston. That crowd is going to be loud, so they're going to have to step it up. But we're in for a fun postseason ahead, everyone. I want to thank you for stopping by tonight. Always a pleasure. We got up to almost around 300 people. That was a little bit more than last night. So let's keep this going, everyone. Share the show if you can. Hit the like button on the way out. Subscribe if you are new. Our like goal tonight was 100. Not sure if we got to it or not. Oh, we did. We got to 100 likes. So thank you for helping us get there. But everyone, thank you again for stopping by. Always appreciate it. We'll be back Saturday. That's going to be fun. We got some Game 1s. I'm excited to talk about those. I would like to do a video for this Saturday, so not guaranteed. I'm just exhausted from this past week, working on stuff at work with the channel, obviously. So a little tired, so we'll see. I would like to do a video for this weekend, so be on the lookout for that. Everyone, have yourself a great night. I will see you Saturday night. I'm excited for it. Have a good night, everyone. Have a good day tomorrow, and I'll talk to you next time.